something. Yeah, enjoy.
Now we cannot do that.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
I'm sorry for cut the conversation. The time show 1 o'clock, so we can start the webinar. Good afternoon, a very welcome to all. It's a wonderful day, and I would like to thank you for joining us on time for this seminar. My name is Elizabeth Jessica Mulyadi. It's a pleasure change for me to be your master of ceremony on this very special webinar titled Immersive Media in Designing, including AR and VR. First of all, let's say thanks to God who has given guidance, happiness, healthy, and mercy, so we attend and participate in this special event without any obstacles. Before we start, I hope that all of the audience can turn off the mic during the event, so the webinar will be running smoothly. I would like to welcome Mr. Mark Wong from Singapore as our speaker today. Also, the Director of BINUS University, Mr. Boto Simatupang, and the Head of School of Design Jakarta Department, Bu Titi, and the lecturer of BINUS University and all of the audience. The first session will be opened with the speech from Director of BINUS University, Mr. Boto Simatupang. Time is yours, sir.
Thank you, Jessica. Mr. Wong, good afternoon. Very nice to have this opportunity. On behalf of BINUS, I would like to say thank you very much for the opportunity to share with all of us. The audience here is the head of the department and lecturers and also students. So like I said earlier, that physical barrier is no longer a barrier, because nowadays we can have a lot of sharing session without physically we have to fly here or stay in Malang. Although it's a very nice town, Malang is a very nice town. BINUS have campuses in quite a number of places, mostly in Jakarta or Greater Jakarta area. Outside of Jakarta is Bandung and also Malang. And one day I hope that you come visit us in Jakarta or even in Malang or Bandung. So again, thank you very much for this opportunity, and I hope that this occasion is not only just stop in here, but we can do a follow-ups to expand further relationship that will benefit mutually, especially for our students in BINUS. So thank you very much, Mr. Wong, and thank you very much also for the head of department and the committee, and also the students who have are going to enjoy this seminar. And I hope that you can learn a lot from session that will be given by Mr. Wong. Thank you very much, Mr. Wong. Hope you enjoy the occasion. And I need to apologize because I will be able to join the whole session of the seminar. There will be another engagement for me, but thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Boto.
Okay, thank you for the speech, sir.
Thank
So
you.
during the event, the audience can ask any question in the chat box and will be answered in Q&A session. Good news for the 3 best questions. We'll get an interesting door prize, and it is not bad during a pandemic to buy some quota or shopping online maybe. And today's webinar will be hosted by Hannah Kirena as the moderator, and the speaker is Mr. Mark Wong from FX Media Singapore. Let's start the webinar. I'll leave the next question to the moderator.
Thank you, Jessica. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Hannah Kirena. I'm an interior design student, BINUS Young 2022, and I'm a part of IDFest 2020's committee. And today, let me serve you as the moderator of this session. Before we get started, let me remind you that you will have the opportunity to submit text questions to today's presenter by typing your question into the chat box. You may send in your questions at any time during the presentation, and we will collect these and address them at the end of the presentation. And for your information, the best 3 questions will get the door prize from us. So, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for finding time and visiting today's webinar, and welcome to today's session with the title Immersive Media in Design, including AR and VR. Today, we are pleased to welcome Mr. Mark Wong, a very special guest from FX Media Singapore. Mr. Mark Wong is the owner of FX Media, which built in 1999. Mr. Mark specialized in augmented or virtual reality, and he has been providing augmented, virtual, mixed reality solutions for training and education since 2013. And today he will be sharing with us his expertise. With that, I ask you that you give your full attention to Mr. Mark Wong and help me in welcoming him to the stage. Mr. Mark Wong, time is yours.
Thank you very much. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Let me just share my screen. Okay, are you able to see my screen?
We are seeing presenter mode again, Mr. Mark.
Again, oh, okay. Let me. Okay, should be fine. Is it okay now?
Yes, it's good.
All right. Okay, good. All right. Thank you, everyone. Good afternoon, friends, right? Lecturers and ladies and gentlemen. All right. This is a great pleasure to do a presentation on immersive media. That's something that I'm very passionate about. All right. This afternoon, essentially, I will do a very quick introduction about myself, and then I'll go through into what is immersive technologies for those who are probably new to immersive technology, AR, VR, and then I'll explain a little bit on that. And why is it important? Okay, and I'll share some of the case studies that what we have done in the past. And if you were to embark on this journey, what must you be prepared to do, and what are the things that you need to consider? After that, we will do a conclusion and summary. And then after that, we are open for question and answers. All right. Okay, let's roll. Okay, just a very quick introduction about myself. Right. My name is Mark. Right. Run a multimedia AR VR company. All right. And over the years, we have done quite a number of projects, whether is it private sector or government sectors. Right. It range from AR, VR, and also immersive room kind of setup. Right. Okay. So what is actually immersive technology and immersive learning all about? Okay. So I'll just start from the very basic for the benefit of doubt for those who are new to this area. Okay. I think you heard a lot about VR. All right. And you heard about AR. And some of you probably hear about this term called MR, which is called mixed reality. So what is the difference between these three? All right. So let me just explain. For VR, virtual reality, simply allow you to put on a headset and you shut yourself out from the real world. So whatever you see is actually a virtual environment. Right? You don't see the real world in front of you. So that is how we define as virtual reality. For augmented reality, right, is something, computer graphics that actually display on top of a real world. Why do I mean by that? Okay, I think by now you are very familiar with your mobile phones, right? So when you put out your mobile phone and you turn on an AR apps, what it does is actually turn the camera mode on, right? With the camera mode, you are seeing through the phone to the real world. And what it does, augmented reality, is it actually display a computer graphics within this camera view. Okay, a very famous game will be Pokemon, right? Pokemon Go. you can turn on your camera and you see a monster in front, and then you tap on it to catch it and things like that. So this is what we mean by augmented reality. So you are still seeing the real world. Okay. Now, the third one, mixed reality. What is mixed reality? Well, in short, it's actually a enhanced version of augmented reality, because what it does is not just display the object in front of on the camera itself. How it display, it will detect the real world around you. Okay, if you look at this diagram, the MR diagram that my mouse is showing, you can see there is a robot. Okay, and in front of this robot there is a physical chair. All right, so when they display it, they are displaying the robot behind the chair. How does it display behind the chair? Because there are sensors of the camera is detecting that there is a real object in the distance. So when you try to display this robot, it will know that it has to be behind the furniture. So based on distancing and things like that. So what does that imply? What it means is, for MR, it actually tries to sense the environment around you and determine the depth. Okay, so this makes the experience a lot more realistic, because in the real world there is depth. In the old traditional AR, when they first started, there is no depth, so the object will always be in front of the of you, right? So it doesn't know that there is a furniture and things like that, right? So just recap back. So for VR, you shut yourself entirely from the real world, and you're only inside a virtual world. You don't see the real world, right? Okay, now, so now we heard of AR, VR, and MR. Suddenly there's this new term comes in called XR. Wow, so many R. So what is XR? Well, XR is just, they call it extended reality, extended. So which means that in the industrial term, whenever someone say XR, it can refer to either AR, VR, or MR. So don't be alarmed or too confused with what is XR, the kind of thing. It's just it just means that it comprises any of these three or all of these three. Okay. Now, in the more recent development so far, we have seen there is a change also in the industry. Mainly two main pillars would be the rise of two main things: 5G, okay, and also artificial intelligence. So these two are one of the major development that is happening now, is ongoing, right? And these two are the technologies that eventually going to mix with this XR technology as a whole, all right? So because of COVID, right, that's why we are Zooming now instead of going to the physical seminar where we sit down in front of the real audience. We are doing Zoom right now. So what has it also changed is to bring some of this technology over to the web. That's why there's another term called Web XR. Okay, so I hope you are not confused with all the AR, VR, MR, XR, Web XR, and all this. So these are just how it evolved, right? So I hope you are clear on this, to clarify all the doubts. Okay, so why is it immersive learning then is important, right? So because it's actually a very special and simulated and controlled learning situation, right? That give you that more intense learning experience. Okay, what do I mean by that? And so why is it important? Right. If you look at some of the important technologies that is going to evolve in the next decade, right? So we have artificial intelligence, IoT, Internet of Things, mobile and social internet and things like that, you realize that immersive media actually is one of the key ones. And also, if you notice in my slide, item number 17, which is the collaborative tech. Well, collaborative tech is essentially what we are already been doing now, Zoom. So Zoom has already taken us in such a way that it becomes our everyday life. So what happened is that all these technology are starting to merge together, all right? And as listed down there, immersive media is something that is fairly important. Why so? There must be a reason. Well, it's mainly because if you look at this research, right, reading, right, is one of the, of course, the earliest and simplest way of getting information, right? However, the research has found out that it's only about 10% of retention, okay, that you can actually remember from reading. 20% hearing, all right? So if you read and hear, that adds to the learning experience. Then viewing images. So like the old saying says, good picture tells good picture says 1,000 words, all right? So by viewing images, it actually helps you to understand certain concepts a lot more easier, right? Rather than trying to explain it in words, okay? And moving on to the next level is actually learning by watching a movie, animation or demonstrations and things like that, right? This even retains the learning experience. Now, this is something that we have been doing all this while, probably without us knowing, right? Yeah, I'm sure you guys have watched tons and tons of YouTubes, TikToks and whatever. So videos is something, again, can allow you to learn much quicker and retain more information, right? And then moving down the line, 70% is participating, right? Like discussion forums and things like that, learn through discussion. And you realize that actually the one that has the most retention is actually by doing things. So by hands-on, right, you can learn the most and retain most information. And that is exactly where immersive technology lies in, all right? So this is why immersive technology is applied in cases where you require the student to learn more cleverly and retain as much information as possible in the shortest possible time, right? Right, so again, some studies, research has also done, like e-learning and serious gaming helps you to gain attention, learn a lot more by doing, okay, have fun, and also easy to be repeatable. Repeatable means you can recycle that experience again and again, all right? So maybe I'll just share with some of the case studies, all right, that what we have done in the past. Okay, we have done one project with NUS, right? It's a Department of Surgery. What happened is that they wanted the students to know what it needs to remember in terms before the patient go into an operating theater, all right? So we have a simulated operating theater scene where there will be one of the participate as a surgeon, right, inside the operating theater. Well, their task is actually before they operate on the patient, they need to check to make sure that, for example, the eyelid are properly taped before they can even start the operation. So there's a lot of procedural checks before they start to operate on the patient. All right. And another example is that when the nurse pass him the surgical knife and things like that, well, the proper way is he can only take the knife through a tray like this. If the nurse pass him directly with the knife with the bare hands, there is a danger or possible that they may cut the surgeon. So that is not the right procedure to do it. All right. So let me show you a quick video, right? How the VR experience is like.
Dear doctors and nurses, can we do a timeout? Can the team please introduce yourselves?
Dr. Alfred Cole, Dr. Nigel Tam, and Dr. Gao Yujia.
On anesthesia team, Dr. Terry Pan and Dr. Tan Pei Shan. Staff nurse Parong and circulating nurse Layden.
AU Nurse Helen.
Has the essential imaging been displayed?
Yes.
Are essential equipments or instruments available in the OT?
Yes.
Have the appropriate antibiotics been given? Yes. Is site marking visible after draping?
Not applicable.
Okay, I'll just stop here. I guess you understand what I'm talking about, all right? So over here, this is the lab where the students get to try it on themselves, all right? Okay. So another project that we have done with the university is also to train their pharmacy student, all right? So they need to study how the nature of herbs and what are the medical value in each of the herbs. So instead of studying through textbooks and things like that, we created a game for them. So this game is actually based on a situation where there is a virus outbreak in the real
Suara Zoom gua kedengeran nggak sih?
Sorry, someone.
Okay, sorry, sir.
Okay. To simulate, let's say there is a virus outbreak and you are trying to escape out from the city, and then in order to save the world, you need to find the right herb to cure the human race. All right, so let me show you a video. Okay, sounds fun, right? All right, so there's some of the screenshot of the set up the so-called gameplay environment. All right, where you have to navigate around with a stranded island. You need to choose your characters. This in a way allow you to choose a different character, because each character have different skill set and weaknesses, right? And in order to complete the game, you need to work as a team. So you need to choose different avatar to have a different skill set in order to achieve some of the missions. All right. So this actually encourage a lot more on collaboration and teamwork among the team members, right? Okay, so this is a lip motion, a device that tracks your hand gesture, so that gives you a sense of doing some of the actions physically rather than everything based on mouse clicks, right? Okay. Okay, next one is more on the earthquake simulation. All right, you can also kind of create a scene of the how to simulate an earthquake, and we actually make the experience a lot more realistic in the sense that we have actually a device that helps to shake the ground while you are viewing through the VR experience. So this makes the experience a lot more interesting. So you have other senses rather than just a visual sense. Okay, next one share with you is for more on the high school students, right? Essentially, this is actually augmented reality applications, right? It took the concept of the Pokemon Go, right, where the students actually needs to go and hunt for some of these monsters within the school campus, right? So once they hunt and get the monster, they get to win some points, and then they can answer some quiz and things like that to help them in their learning. All right, let me show you the video. Okay. So this makes the experience a lot more fun to learn new subjects and things like that. So the kids enjoy it a lot more. Okay. Okay, next one, I just share a little bit more on what we call immersive multimedia. So far, I have shared with experience using the VR headset or using your phones and things like that. So those are more personal devices that is more to like one-to-one experience. Okay, immersive multimedia can also happen in within a space. Okay, space meaning environment. All right, which, for example, we did a project with the National Library Board where we actually kind of make this room, right, where we have a large projection on the wall, all right, that give you a very immersive and surround kind of environment, okay, where you can have the children or students that is sitting in the middle, right? They can immerse themselves in this environment, and the storyteller can start to tell them very interesting stories with lights and sound to immerse themselves in this kind of storytelling concept. All right. And we also have interactive wall over here, right, where they can also let the children to have an interactive game to be played after the story has been told, right? So this is how we can also make use of the room to make it more immersive, that this concept is more for one-to-many audience, right? Okay. Next, I'd like to share on the, like I mentioned, because of COVID, we are sometimes constrained to be staying at home. So how do we take the online experience one step further, all right? So other than just a simple website and things like that, we can also make the experience a lot more interactive, right? Let me share with you this example that we did for Malay Heritage Center. Let me share another screen. Okay. So what you see here is actually the place that is modeled in three-dimensional, right? Where the visitor, when they comes to the center, they can actually view it in three-dimensional mode. So they can actually navigate, right? It tells you more about the features, right? Right, so you can navigate within the place, or you can even enter directly into the center itself. Okay, let me just mute it for a while. So you can, once you get inside, you can actually visit the place in a virtual 360 tour kind of thing, all right? So inside here, you can immerse yourself into the, in this case, the museum, all right? Okay, you can look at some of the artifacts. Okay. And like, for example, they exhibit on how fishing was done in the past, how people catch fish to make a living. So you can actually click and know more about the fishing equipment that they use, called a bobo, right? So other than just reading text and see pictures and things like that, you can also play a very simple interactive game. All right. So in order to explain how the bobo works, right? So this interactive game, for example, you can see it in three-dimensional, right? And you lower it into the water. And then you see how the fish are being caught. Okay, one more. Okay, so we catch all our fishes. Okay. So this is one way. Also, we can mix the web experience a lot more interesting, not just static pictures or videos. You can make it interactive as well. All right. So to add on to the point, of course, museums like this is one method we can apply. We can also apply in some of the products information and things like that, all right? So you can, for example, look at this futuristic vehicle. You can also interact with it. Open the door, all right? Oh, let's get in. I can click, go inside the car. Okay, I can look around. It's a bit dark. Maybe I turn on the lights. I think it's okay. Let's turn it off. Okay, so let's get out of the car. Right, so I can literally have a better understanding or even explain. If let's say I have products that I want to showcase and things like that, I can make use of this to bridge or communicate with my target audience and things like that. Okay. Okay, let me switch it back. Okay, you seeing back my PowerPoint slides?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Okay, so those are just some examples that I've showed you how we can apply some of these immersive technologies into the work that we do. All right, but how do we go about embarking on this journey? All right, how do we go into that that arena? Well, there are different definitely different technologies, and which one is used correctly will be most effective. All right. So AR, VR can be applied, or rather can be differentiated into various types. Number one type is 3D based, right? 3D based means your entire scene, you have to create it in 3D objects like 3D modeling and things like that, right? Pretty much like I've shown you the example of the Malay Heritage Centers and so on, right? Then the second one is actually the 2D based. 2D based can be still photograph, right? A virtual experience. So a lot of times you see virtual tours, like just now I showed you the museum where you visit inside, you look around where the fishing bobo is. Those are actually 2D still photograph, right? But we shot it in 360 and stitched them together. Okay. So video based is very similar. It's just that instead of a still photograph, it's a moving videos, right? So essentially, these are the three main types of VR experience, right? And choosing the right devices. Right now, there are quite a number of devices to choose from. You have very common HTC Vive, and then you have the Oculus Rift S, Sony PSVR. This one is more consumer gaming, right? Vive Pro, Epson device, Magic Leap, HoloLens from Microsoft, so on and so forth. Okay, I will not go through all, but just to give you a sense that these are the different type of devices, and not all the devices are suited to be used in your projects, all right? So depending on what you're trying to do, you need to choose the right headset to do the right thing, all right? Okay, so one of the key things that we choose on the VR headset is this term called DOF, all right? So 3 DOF and 6 DOF, all right? What it essentially means is the depth of field, all right? So like, for example, if you look at this image here, right? When you wear the headset and you move yourself, you will realize that the virtual object in the screen move together with you, all right? So obviously, this is not as realistic because to simulate the real world, the object in front of you doesn't move away when you move closer to it. All right, so that is why you have the 6 DOF here. This is a more realistic VR headset that you should get because the virtual object doesn't move when you move close to it. Okay, in short, take for example, in this case, you can never see this plate close to you if you use the 3 DOF VR headset, right? So those 3 VR headsets are like, for example, the Google Cardboard or the Oculus Go, whereas the 6 DOF is like the Oculus Quest, Rift S, or the Vive Pro. That's why this headset usually costs a bit more than the 3 DOF, right? Okay, next is also the field of view, all right? The field of view also determines how immersive your experience will be. The wider it is, the more degree that it covers in your vision of view. So the more it covers, of course, it will be a lot more immersive, right? Okay, so some of the VR headsets that are very popular these days or just released is the Oculus Quest 2. Okay, and then HoloLens 2, this is from Microsoft. This is mainly used for mixed reality. This one is actually more used for the virtual reality, right? And then there's another player called Nreal. They just released their AR headset recently. And Apple is working on the Apple Glass, which is actually an augmented reality headset. This is still not released yet, still in development. people in the industry are hoping to get their hands on this device, right? Okay, but more recently, Apple has Apple 12. Recently, what they have released is the camera and also the iPad's version that they actually make use of this LiDAR technology. Okay, LiDAR stands for light detection and ranging, which essentially is a device that helps to measure that more accurately. All right. So what does that mean again? So looking at this this picture over here, you see this lady. In front of her is a table, a real table, a physical table. All right. So with LiDAR, they can accurately determine that if they want to place a flower, okay, on top of the table, okay, or some of the plant that is behind her, they can actually do this more accurately, okay, using the LiDAR technology. Okay, so next I touch on a little bit on the development tools. So in order to develop all these AR, VR application, what do you need? Okay, well, essentially you need some of the tools like Unity or Unreal. Either one will allow you to develop applications like the AR, VR or MR applications, right? If you are doing on the web, then you can possibly use things like Sierra Construct or Verge 3D tools, Metaverse or Amazon Sumerian. Okay, or for web AR, you can also use 8.4. Okay, so summary and conclusion, all right? So does that mean that all the training or education we should be doing is, okay, we should be using AR, VR for all the training? Well, my answer is no, you don't. All right, you don't have to do that because not every single training is suitable to use AR, VR. So you need to plan very carefully what makes sense to use AR, VR for that training because after all, the time and effort you need to create those training materials will take quite a fair bit of time and effort. So you need to plan it carefully. All right. Okay. With that, right, I like to end my presentation. Okay, we can have Q&A now.
Thank you, sir, for giving your valuable insight on immersive media in design using AR and VR. So with that, we will go ahead and take some time for questions. And Mr. Mark will choose the best 3 questions and will be announced at the end of this webinar. So if you guys have some questions, you can type in your chat box. So, well, it looks like our first question is from Kukuh Iman Muhammad. Permission to ask, sir. I'm sorry if my English is not actually good. I want to ask, do you have any idea to make some project in VR, AR, MR, or XR in engineering so students can learn it fast because doing active learning than passive learning like reading, hearing, and viewing image because some university doesn't have some facility that capable of theory. Thank you.
Well, engineering can be quite a broad field, but maybe for instance, what I can think offhand is you may want to simulate how engineering affects in our daily life at the end after you're supposed to graduate with an engineering degree. For example, you could be a civil engineer, all right? You could be a structural engineer, for example. So those are where you can actually, if you do your calculation right, your bridges and your building will stand firm, even if, let's say, there is some changes in the earth foundation and things like that. So you can actually simulate that kind of situation. If let's say tomorrow you are a civil engineer, you need to provide solutions and things like that. So how do you compute, and then after you compute your answer, whether your structure will still remain when the place have slight earthquake and things like that. So that will make the impact a lot more impactful when you learn how important is it in terms of the structural engineering and things like that. I hope I answer your question.
Hope that answered your question, Kukuh Iman Muhammad. And for the next question is from Elisa Digna. What design aspects that need to be paid attention to make immersive technologies exciting and can be used by all kinds of ages?
Okay, all kind of ages again is quite broad. You really kind of have to define what is the purpose of your experience is about. All right. Let me give you an example, analogy. All right. If you want to make a movie for family and even children, all right, you'll probably watch The Incredibles, all those Disney animation and things like that. And if you notice those Disney animation movies, right, those are actually very catered for family audience, right, where the content of it, how they bring up all those messages are targeted mainly actually more for children, because the parents want to watch with them. So the level of understanding, it has to be catered pretty much at the children of a certain age. All right. So if you ask me, how would you make it exciting and can be used by other, you need to first define what is your primary target age group, because that level of understanding is very critical. Then you may have secondary target audience. It can be adults or it can be middle age. It doesn't really matter, because those are not the main people that you're trying to impress or rather to send a message to. So you need to firstly clearly define what is your primary target audience group. And then what design aspect need to pay attention to immersive? Okay, to make it exciting, again, different level of target audience will have a difference in preference. The hardest right now, of course, to impress is the millennium groups, where they are very much exposed to a lot of things, right? To impress them, not so easy, because some of them who has also traveled overseas, they have played in certain theme parks and all these things like that. So they are pretty much exposed, right? So in order to make the experience exciting, first, I think you have to think along the line whether that particular subject that you're talking about, right, hits them directly to their heart. Because if it is not relevant to me, no matter how touching stories or whatever, if it doesn't relate to me, there is very little impact, right? So that's why you always go back to what is the main target audience that you are trying to pitch to. Okay, I hope that answers your question.
Okay, for the next question is from Mr. Victor. I have a question, sir. A lot of people say that immersive technology, AR, VR, MR, and XR separate human from the actual reality. What do you think about it? And how immersive technology affect human life in future? Thank you.
Okay, well, we can never take away the real world experience. Okay, what we are trying to do here is to, remember this, is to emulate what the real world is like with a virtual environment where it is difficult to duplicate. Okay, what do we mean by that? Okay, I mean, some simple example to let you understand is probably training of a pilot using a simulator. All right, so is the pilot really flying the airplane in the simulator? Obviously, he's not. Okay, but what it's trying to do is to give him a lot more situation and scenarios as close as the real world to practice on. All right. With the grilling of the various situations close to real life, he can do multiple practices and enhance his skill before he fly the real thing. But of course, in the real situation, whether he can really perform up to that situation is still up to the pilot himself. But at least as much as the training is concerned, he is very much well equipped with the knowledge that he has before he fly the aircraft. So if you ask me whether we are detaching it from real world, well, actually my answer is no. It should complement each other. All right. Thank you.
Okay, for the next question is from Mr. Andi Pramono. In the using of MR, do we still need a marker to display the 3D object? And could you please show us the last presentation in chapter 5? Thank you.
Wait, let me pull out the slide again. Last presentation in chapter 5. Okay. Okay, this one, is it? Are you referring to this?
Maybe Mr. Andi.
The next one, sir.
Yeah.
The next
Sorry?
one, number 88.
88.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, in the use of MR, do we still need them? Okay, answer is no. You don't need to have a marker in order to augment or put up a virtual object over to the real world. You don't, right? Not necessary. A lot of times we use marker. Sometimes the reason we use marker is mainly for very specific accuracy in the positioning of where we want to place an object. Okay, I think you probably see some of the examples on the YouTube talking about AR, putting up a dinosaur in a park and things like that. Those are fine without using sometimes marker, because it doesn't really matter which part of the grass patch you are putting the dinosaur. So accuracy is not so critical. So you don't really need to use a marker on it. But sometimes if you need very precision positioning of an item, it's still better to use a marker, because let's say, for example, machinery, you need to show certain parts that you want to augment it in front of it so that it's accurately displayed at the correct position. So in order to achieve that finer details of accuracy, sometimes a marker is a more preferred method. Okay, hope to answer your question.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Looks like no one asking again. Oh, there is Julius Johan. He asked about, I would like to ask, after artificial intelligence and virtual reality, augmented reality is the next solid step in technology. Supercomputers based on quantum concepts are the powerful processors of the future. The conceptual and technical development of quantum entanglement and can enable the transmission of information in the future. Basically, will this be related? Which one has the most important role?
Okay, the truth is that it is related in a sense. Okay, let me explain it in a more simple manner. If you take a step back, AR, VR, and MR, you can take it or rather interpret it as more like a front-end interface, all right? Just like what we are today, we are using a screen as an interface, a laptop is a screen, a tablet is an interface, and things like that. It's more like a presentation level, okay? But what's behind all this interface is where your engine is, right? And this engine is actually going to be the AI application programs that you program in it. So what it does, it process and then it display out. And whatever it display out, it can be in the form of AR, VR, or MR, or traditional tablet screen or laptop screens, right? So if you think about it, yeah, the engine, the meat is actually your back-end system. Why some systems are so-called applications are more fun to play or more fun to do or learn from is because there is some robust or very interesting technology behind the scene, right? I hope I answered that question.
Okay, well, it looks like we've covered all of our questions, and maybe Mr. Mark can choose the best 3 questions. And after that, Mr. Mark, is there anything else you wanted to cover before a wrap up?
No, I think I'm pretty okay.
Okay, great. I think we are good for now. So, Immersive Media is on the top 3 technologies of the next decade, and immersive media is important because by actively doing or participate on the learning process will help us to understand more clearly, just like how the technology helped medical students to understand the surgery process by actively participate through VR as we watched on the previous video. And definitely we can apply technology, whether it's VR, AR, or MR, and a lot more field of study to ease the learning process and get maximum result. And thank you for everyone. It was a pleasure being with you all today. And I, Hannah Kirena, will give the closing session back to the host, Jessica.
Okay, thank you, Reina. Thank you, Mr. Mark, for the informative and insightful presentation. Well, we get a lot of information today about sophistication of technology and how we use them in our job or our task. I hope it will be useful for our future. The next event, we will listen speech from the interior design lecture of Bina Nusantara Malang, Mrs. Ira Audia Agustina. Time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Jasmine and all. First, thank you, Mr. Wong, for the interesting presentation.
Thank you.
I hope this will open the eyes of our students about the possibility to enhance their skills in digital media. Okay, and for you guys, I know there's much of BINU students here. For you guys, for your information, who are interested to work in this field, FX Media are open for internship. Is that correct, Mr. Wong?
Yes, definitely, yes.
Yeah. And also, this will be the first of our partnership activities between BINUS Malang and FX Media. So this actually is only the introduction for our BINUS students about the immersive media before we are going to the next level of activities. So, Mr. Wong, we are looking forward for our next interesting agenda. Last but not least, we are moving forward to the next digital era, and we have to be well prepared. Once again, thanks to Mr. Wong. Thank you for your time and presentation for us. Okay, back to Panitia.
Okay, thank you, Miss Ira. So, those of you who are looking for an internship can immediately check and contact FX Media. Okay, the next event we will listen a speech from the Chief Executive of IDFest 2020, Lucrecia Jessica. Time is yours.
Thank you, Jessica. So that concludes our seminar for today. As the Chief Committee of IDFest 2020 Inside Federation, I would like to once again thank Mr. Mark Wong from FX Media as the speaker of our Immersive Media in Designing, including ER and VR seminar today. Our campus director, Mr. Boto Simatupang, to all of our lecturers, all the participants, and to all of the committee who have participated in the seminar today. I hope that this event gives us something that we can benefit from, and I hope that it brings us a lot other positive things that can be useful for us in the future. Thank you once again and good afternoon.
Okay, thank you, Luca, for the speech. And now we already have 3 people with the best question. Mr. Mark announced about the 3 winner, and I invite Mr. Mark to read the 3 winners of the best question.
Okay, the first one we will have Julius.
Okay, congratulations for Julius.
And second one we have Eliza.
Okay, congratulations, Elisa.
And the third one we have Andy.
Okay, congratulations for Julius, Elisa, and Mr. Andy. And for the prize, the committee will contact you via email or line, so you can check your email or line regularly. Thank you for Mr. Mark for announcing. And before we close our webinar today, we want to capture this moment together. So all of you.
I'm sorry, Jasmine.
Yes.
Additional information, don't forget itu yang pesertanya yang dari BINUS itu ngisi form absen.
Oh yeah. For the attendance form will be shown in the last of the event. And before we close the event, all of you can open the camera, show your beautiful and handsome face, and get ready for fun or cool pose.
Say cheese. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you for the committee. And then please don't leave the webinar yet because soon there will be an attendance. And we have entered at the end of the event. I would like to announce that our webinar doesn't end here. Tomorrow, November 28th at 10 until 12 p.m., there will be another webinar about the basic things about building a design studio as a young designer with Mr. Chandra Santoso as founder of Kansa Studio and Annette Firmawan as founder of Contenu Studio. For the registration, you can check on Instagram at IDFest 2020 or at insight.binus. You can also watch any workshop and video series on Instagram at IDFest 2020. And there are many interesting things that will be posted there. So don't miss it. Go on your Instagram and follow the account at IDFest 2020 and interior.binus. Okay, now you can scan the barcode that is already on your screen for your attendance, or you can click on the link on your chat room, and we will give you 5 minutes to fill this form. Oke, untuk teman-teman yang sudah hadir di sini, kalian bisa langsung men-scan barcode yang sudah ada di layar kalian, dan kalau misalnya tidak bisa men-scan-nya, bisa langsung mengklik link yang sudah di-share oleh panitia di kolom chat kalian. Okay, please make sure that you have already filled it to get the certificate and the student activity point for Binusian. Pastikan kalian semua sudah mengisi Google Form-nya untuk mendapatkan sertifikat dan juga untuk mendapatkan poin SAT bagi Binusian. Oke, informasi untuk mengklaim SAT, kalian bisa langsung submit sertifikat yang telah diberikan dan menguploadnya di Binus Maya. Setelah itu baru kalian bisa mendapatkan SAT, poin SAT dari sertifikat tersebut. Okay, it seems that quite a few have filled out the form. And I think that's all for our webinar today. So thank you very much. I said to Mr. Mark Wong from FX Media Singapore as our speaker today, also the lecturer who were joining us, and for all of you who are participating today. Dreams cannot come true on their own, but it will come true when we try to achieve them. I'm Jessica Mulyadi as your Master of Ceremony. Thanks again for joining us today. We hope to see you again next time. Goodbye.
Goodbye, guys.
Goodbye. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mark.
Hey, thank you. See you again. Bye.
Okay, see you again, Mr.